I have made a small attempt to just put the experiential learning in framework, that entire thing within the neurosciences. These are the two people who have in recent times made a great impact on the experiential learning. This is about the learning styles. We talked about in our conventional learning, we talked about kinesthetic style, audio visual, kinesthetic, and different type of learners. Here it is thought of in a different way. You have experiencing, imagining, then reflecting, analyzing, thinking, deciding. The teacher doesn't provide any kind of information. The children are encouraged to find the information for themselves. Experiential kind of learning, and each experience adds to the plasticity of the brain. So in recent times, from what I understood from my reading and my talks with academicians is that these are the two people who have in recent times made a great impact on the experiential learning. They actually have a institute of experiential learning, and these two people have played a very important role in popularizing this experiential learning. And they have actually depended on psychologists and philosophers, including Lev Vygotsky, Piaget, then William James. All those actually it is they are built upon the foundations laid by all these great people, great minds in psychology, philosophy, education. And this is the in a short summary. This is the thing that happens in the experiential learning as per the David Cope's theory. That is, first you experience something. You remember that in the this Bloom's taxonomy, begins with remember. So you acquire some knowledge and then you try to remember it, then you try to understand. So that's the process which happens in Bloom's taxonomy. Here, it is totally reversed. Here, actually, it starts with experiencing. You have an experience with something and then you reflect upon it. That is the second part of it. Then you start the thinking process. Again, thinking is most important. I think that is something which is left out in the Bloom's taxonomy and revised Bloom's taxonomy. It is there, but it is not implemented. Maybe when we talk about rote learning, the first part of the pyramid, that is remember, is only being evaluated or assessed. That may be one of the reasons. I sometimes feel that in the Bloom's taxonomy itself, if understanding became the first layer, then the whole problem within the education system might be, I mean, this is I'm not a full-time academician, so my views are just based on what I have seen and heard from experts and also my readings. So in this process, the thinking takes place and then it acts. So it is a linear process. It's not a linear process. It's a cyclical process. It doesn't end anywhere. In a linear system, it ends at some level. So this is a continuous cycle of experiencing, reflecting, thinking, and acting. This is the theory set by David Cope and Alice Cope. And this is they already have they have written a lot of books related to this. And then they also have an institute. They are running an institute in USA for this. And they also train not only educators, but also managers, businessmen, and a lot of people from across the streams. So that is their contribution. And we'll go to the next slide. This is about the learning styles. We talked about in our conventional learning, we talked about kinesthetic style, audio visual, kinesthetic, and different type of learners. Here it is thought of in a different way. You have experiencing, imagining, then reflecting, analyzing, thinking, deciding. So at some point, you will be having more of something. A learner will be having more of the thinking process taking place. Yeah, at some phase it will be more of deciding. In some it could be acting. So these are the different learning styles. So the learner will be adopting in the whole cycle process. So there is also something called balancing. You can see in the middle. So that is also something which happens. The balancing one tends to shift between the opposites of experiencing, thinking, and acting, reflecting. So this is the Cope's theory. And then we'll go to the next slide. So these are the dialectical poles. You have concrete experience, then abstract conceptualization, and on the right side you have reflective observation and active experimentation. And this opposites actually help us to learn better. It's a kind of challenge that takes place in the learning process. That's what I understand from the Cope's theory. So we'll go to the next slide. So now, where has this been implemented? So this has been implemented in both school level as well as university level, but I don't know to what extent. So my limited search on the Google and other platforms helped me come out with one or two examples. One is the New Zealand model. The New Zealand schools use this model where they have the experience in the beginning, then they reflect the same theory that the Cope is following. Then they have the second part of it is reflecting, then generalizing and abstracting. How, what, if, so what. That is the third part of the cycle. Then transfer. Now what? Critical action. So this is the whole experiential learning process that is taking place in New Zealand schools. So I don't know whether other countries are any other country following this. So I'm not saying that this is restricted to New Zealand, but I only found this model in New Zealand with my limited search. So we'll go to the next slide. So they also in New Zealand, they have also implemented adventure-based learning. So that involves, apart from the usual learning, classroom learning, they have physical education and sports studies. So this, in their view, this builds trust, goal setting, challenges and puts stress on the child in the adequate manner. Then it provides peak experiences. Then it gives humor, fun. All these things are lacking in our usual classroom. So we have also the problem solving part of it. So this is something which is already implemented in New Zealand, and this is also certified by Cope and his team. So we'll now go to the next. So what does the New Zealand model say? There, the teacher doesn't provide any kind of information. The children are encouraged to find the information for themselves. So which means that, as Arti has also mentioned, in the nature learning, the teacher is an enabler or a facilitator. And here also the teacher is not the person sage on the stage. He or she provides the infrastructure or the enabling environment for the child to learn. And then the sequence involves action, observation, reflection. That is actually from the experiential learning theory. So we'll go to the next. Then we have the Singapore model, where in universities they have a four-stage system where they have a project-based system. Then they have an interdisciplinarity involved. Then collaboration between faculty and industry. Then active mentoring by faculty and partners. So I read one report which was an assessment of the work done in the pedagogy adopted in the Singapore universities, and they found that it was useful for developing cognitive, interpersonal, and intrapersonal competencies. But it did not solve the problem and improve the problem-solving skills in a much what do you call high manner. I mean, it didn't improve significantly, but there are other skills including the cognitive and interpersonal skills that were developed because of the model which was followed in the Singapore universities. Over to next one. So now this experiential learning, I told in the beginning that there is a vast advancement taking place in neuroscience. And I was actually going through this book. I don't know whether you have read this. This is 21st Century Brain, Explaining, Mending and Manipulating the Mind by Stephen Rose. He is actually a biologist. And he has actually given a lot of insights into how in the first decade of this century, this 21st century, lot of advancements have taken place in our understanding of how the neural system works and how it has helped us not only in treating neurodegenerative diseases, it has also helped us in education. So these are the latest three people in this series of neuroscientists who have helped us understand about learning and the importance of experiential learning, how it improves the plasticity of the brain, how each experience improves the structure of the brain and allows us to deal with new challenges. And so that's an ongoing process. So they found out these three people are from three institutions, one from Harvard Medical School, the other from Max Planck Institute for Brain Research, and the third is from University of Cambridge. So these people found out that plasticity improves with this experiential kind of learning, and each experience adds to the plasticity of the brain. And they found out that molecular process, actually Christine Holt found out the molecular processes that take place when a new experience is gained by a person. So you have thousands, billions of neurons, and each neuron has dendrites and axons, and each axon actually begins with a small growth cone. And this growth cone is responsible for developing the proteins within these axons. So this whole, it's a big volume of very interesting kind of work that they have done, for which they have got the 2023 Brain Prize, which is considered to be one of the most important awards, global awards for this neuroscience. And these people have won that. And I think in the coming years, these people will be keenly watched for what they are going to give us by way of insight of neuroscience in learning. Yeah, the next slide. So from the literature, I learned that although some of you already said that experiential learning is new, not new, it is something old. I found that it was Donald Hebb who first came out with the theory of this experiential learning, saying that neurons fire together and wire together. So it means that our brain development is a continuous process which begins from our early childhood till we die. It's till old age. And our ability to fire our neurons, there are billions of neurons in our brain, and our ability to fire our neurons and wire them is our ability to scale our capacity of the brain. So experience improves the plasticity of the brain. Plasticity refers to how sensory input changes brain structure and function. So with this, I hope that in the coming years, not only AI, also these advances in neuroscience, our understanding of our brain function will help us to, as educators, we will be able to come out with better teaching learning practices and help our students have a very joyful environment in our schools and colleges. This is my hope, and I end it here.